the eyes.
Yeah. Hello, here we are. We've had a lovely chat in the green room. This is Gita Joshi of the Curators Salon. I'm so chuffed to be able to be chatting to you because there's not many of us in this space, and it's really nice to chat to someone else who's like got a really solid, kind of like grounding in this artist space, supporting artists on really growing their practice and getting a solid foundation. We say, we hold artists and hold their hand, but we also make sure that they put down solid roots so that when the wind blows, as we all know it does in the art world, their tree just waves. It doesn't go ka-chong and land on the ground. And having read your book, Gita, and seen what you do, you're very much in the same space as me. I think you're delivering the same. So it's a joy to have a fellow artist coach and doing the same kind of things in the room with me. And so welcome.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
And we've got lots of people joining us, and that's great. And we'll have people over on the live stream on Facebook, and hopefully Sophie will be around to move over the questions for us. If people who are watching us on Facebook, do put your questions there, because we're here to answer all your questions. And you can put them in the Ask a Question area as well. If you put them in the sidebar, folks, like I know you do sometimes, I might miss them. Now, if we miss them, we always go back and read everything afterwards, and it's fine. We'll pick them up, and either myself or Gita will email you with an answer. But if you want it answered live on screen, put it in the Ask a Question area at the bottom, because you'll definitely then get it asked at the end of this. So first of all, what I'm going to do, which is what I always do, is show you Gita's website so that when you arrive on it, you're confident you're in the right place. So I was just saying to Gita, my son is back from uni and he's changed all my kit, and I've got this really fancy now mouse, which is making it very tricky for me. So there we are. That's your blog page, your podcast page. So let's go back to the blog page first. Why did you call it the Curators Salon?
It's interesting because I was talking to a friend, and we were thinking like, oh, what can it be called? I didn't want it just to be gitajoshi.com. And she was saying something like, oh, like the chef's table is coming through me. It should be something like that. And so I kind of played with it because I quite like that. And so one thing and another, it became the Curators Salon because I come from a curating background. And the point of it was going to be a salon space for discussion. And originally I kind of set it up as a blog. So you can see that blog page is the most populated.
Yeah.
Because I'd left the gallery. I was working with artists running their open studios programs. I was having lots of studio visits. I wanted to do sort of writing about books, exhibitions, but also share the sort of art business advice that people often came to me for. So it was a place to collate all of that. And then the idea of salon as a, place for discourse and discussion and all of that kind of really sat well with me. So yeah, that's kind of how we came up with the Curators Salon. So essentially plucked out the air, to be fair.
A bit like Pure, really. I remember trying to come up with a name for Pure, and I was like, well, we're just going to purely work with artists. And someone said, purely. And I was like, oh yeah. Okay. And this was a long time ago, so it was like 13 years ago. And when we Googled, so we were still in the age of Googling to see whether that name was still available. And it was like no one had used Pure. Now you can get Pure water, Pure jumpers, you can get Pure anything. But when we did it, it was new. And the salon word works really beautifully, doesn't it, in that kind of discussion space?
I think so. I'm really happy with it. And then so the podcast obviously has the same name. And, I'm sort of thinking about a membership for artists as well. So again, that would have more of a salon vibe, like more around discussion and peer support. So yeah, it's kind of working for me on many levels, really. I'm quite happy with that sort of thing, and having to rebrand would be quite a drama, I think.
No one needs that in their life, do they? Going through a rebrand once everyone knows who you are. I know everyone said to me, use your name, Lesley Samms, because then you never have to rebrand, do you?
This is true, but I don't know. I mean, gitajoshi.com is fine, but and I think we are personal brands, and this is what I tell artists, when when we're coaching or, coming through any of my programs, that they are a personal brand. That is really what they need to expand. But it's it's not easy, I think, like stepping into being the face of it as well. So I was able to move slightly behind it by having the salon, but also leave space for other people to come in. But I think that's, for you as well, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like, it doesn't, if it had been Lesley Samms, I was like, how am I going to share that with other people? And I'm not someone who likes working on my own. I like collaborating. I like working with other people, sharing the energy, and, like really moving things forward, because you're, in that joint energy space.
Nice.
Yeah, just like really share the love with everyone. And so, yeah, I think that's why Pure works so well. And yeah, we like the word salon as well. We have salons. We have Pure salons as well, because we like the word.
Oh, do you? Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
And that's for our collectors. So we use that word for our collectors, because we do like live events where they come and have dinner with us, and that's how we use the word salon. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I used to have. Well, then they weren't called salons; they were like just called gallery suppers, actually. And we'd like basically hire out a restaurant and have people, over for dinner. I mean, it was artists that I would have. So that's not when I had the gallery itself, but that's what we did call them, gallery suppers. So yeah, not dissimilar.
Yeah, no, that is very similar. Oh, it's a shame we can't do suppers now.
I know, and I really wanted to revive them this year, but it's the thing that we just have to look to next summer or something. But yeah, I mean, I think like now the way I would do it would be a bit different. And when I did them before, they were basically, I chose who came to my dinners. But I would kind of, my community is different. My community is bigger, and I would like basically sort of, I don't know, it'd be like ticketed or something, but it would be just much more open. And I think that would be a really nice way to engage with, for artists to engage with other artists in the real, in a physical sense over dinner, without necessarily being in an art gallery.
So you heard it here first, folks. Quickly subscribe to Gita's mailing list to get the invite to the first gallery suppers when all of this lockdown.
So I think we might rebrand them to be called salons, actually, for that. That fits with it all.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Well, we picked the salons word because it means to to entertain and to educate and to please. And we were like, yeah, that's what we want to do. And so the salon works. Yes. Oh, I can't wait. I'm already on your mailing list. So.
Obviously, yeah. You're on the VIP list.
I'm on the VIP list. I think it's lovely though to be able to do that. It's a bit like the masterclass scenario, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
In the coaching world, it's like you all get around the table and have a lovely dinner and just share ideas and perspectives.
Yeah.
No, super cool. Oh, well, I watch this space because I think that's
something to make that happen.
Yeah.
So I've said it now. So this is like how
it's live now. It's a thing.
Out in the world, and then here we go.
Yeah, that's how energy works, isn't it?
Yeah.
Grab that. That's your idea. Go with that, and I'm happy to come along.
Can't wait.
Eat the food. It's exciting. Something to look forward to. We all need things to look forward to, don't we? Outside of this situation, because I think we'll go back to where it all began with you, but just briefly touching on that lockdown, because obviously that's a new kind of thing. This second lockdown. I think some people who found the first lockdown really difficult will find this one really much easier. And then some who found the first one easier seem to be finding this second notion of a lockdown really quite difficult to get their head around. And just shows we all just do things in our own way based on our own tendencies and where we are at that moment.
Yeah, I think the season doesn't help. I mean, I think the thing that's slightly harder for me in this one is the weather is really awful. It's getting dark by about 4:30, 5 o'clock, and as it's going to get darker still, earlier. It's that's not so friendly, I think. Whereas through the summer or through the spring, at least we had good weather, and there was something about that kind of kept spirits high. So let's see.
Whereas for me, I like to hibernate a bit in November and December. It's kind of my rest and restore moment. So I'm like, great. now everyone's resting and restoring, so I'm not missing out on anything. I'm not missing out on any parties because everyone's got to kind of become a squirrel.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, I'm not missing going out, to be fair, because I was out at a studio visit yesterday and the trains were all messed up, and it took like 2.5 hours to get back from Kingston to Peckham. That was just reminded me how much I appreciate not having to like be expected to be at places. And sort of doing a lot of all of this on Zoom and Crowdcast and all the things is actually, I've adjusted pretty well to that.
Yeah, and I don't know, down in Sussex we've always suffered with train situations.
Yeah,
and I remember there was like about 3 years ago when there was a load of landslides because of rain, and no one could go to London for or come down here from London for about 6 months. So we're kind of used to winter. Being told we can't go anywhere or do anything. This is just like natural for us. Yeah, I squirrel in my food, I up my Ocado order, and we'll be all right. We'll be fine. We've just got to keep everyone motivated and having fun. And how exciting it is that we're all now, the first lockdown made us all much more adept at this.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, talking online and being comfortable with it and having fun, having good times.
I think a lot of us, like you and I, actually have also connected with more people than we might have done without a lockdown. I mean, it forced us to just basically reach out to people that we maybe knew sort of through our peripheral circles, and make connections, and people more open to, let's have a Zoom chat or whatever. It's much more accessible, and I think for artists as well, their ability to get in front of curators who were not busy in museums and exhibitions, because they were also working from home and had capacity because they didn't, their shows were basically not happening. I think it's worked in all sorts of ways for people.
Yeah, mysterious ways these things work in. The world works in mysterious ways. My mum used to say that to me as a child. The world works in mysterious ways. Hi, Annie. We're smiling, don't you worry. I connected with Gita during this time. I was saying to her while we were chatting in the green room that, I was like, when we went into the first lockdown, I was like, okay, now I've got a bit of time. I can like look around and see who else is in my space. And I found Gita through that. And then I was like, and I started watching what she was doing. And I would never have done that because I was so much in the real world. I never would have done that. And so, artists have been able to get online and find new projects to follow. Like there's been all the journaling, hasn't there? All the artist journaling and all the various like the artist support pledge, which I think is absolutely brilliant.
Amazing.
Brilliant. And they've had that opportunity. And so have we, as on the other side, the business kind of mentors, the curators and gallerists, and have had a little bit more time. So as you say, people are a bit more, I've sent messages to people that I never thought would actually reply to me. And they have. And it's been a joy. It's like, oh wow, just a little bit of a chat. And that's all you need.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I'm stimulated now. I'm inspired. I can go and do something else. So, but we need to go back to the beginning because we need to know Gita's story. So why art? Why did you get into this? Come on.
Why did I get into it?
Why did you get into all of this art thing?
I think art history was the only subject that ever really resonated with me, I think. So that's when I first did art history at A-level, and then I followed it through as a degree. And then back in, I don't know when it was, like maybe 2010 or something, I did a curating course at Central St. Martin's. And I think that's when it all really fell into place for me. That's when I was able to sort of see my sort of interest in art, contemporary art, and actually be a participant of it rather, because I'm not an artist. I don't come from a fine art background or haven't been to art school or any of that stuff. But it was the curated. Suddenly there was this thing that, I knew existed, but hadn't really had any experience of. And curators are quite behind the scenes, right? So, if you go into talks and things, you might sort of hear a curator, but you don't really know what they do. And so doing this course at St. Martin's was really quite life-changing for me in that way. And that's because over the years between university and doing that program, I'd worked for a Royal Fine Art Commission, I'd worked for architectural practices, consultancies, then I'd ended up working in finance. So that was just a way that I was able to now bring the art and the business sort of side of my life together. So that's where I really sort of found that intersection and thought, okay, well, this is how I can do what I really want to do, which is something in the art world, because I've always had this idea when I left university, or I mean, I think it's pretty much taught through uni, or it was when I was there, that to do something with your degree, because that's what we usually want to do, you had to work in a museum. And people like me were not really represented in the museum sector, you know, and I didn't really have experience or exposure to, I suppose, commercial galleries. So it was, you know, it was quite different in the 90s. So it was really, you know, the curating that I did, maybe what's that, about 10 years ago, that made me think, okay, well, I've got all this experience and this is how I bring the two things together. We were coming out of another sort of recession or something, weren't we, when everything crashed, about 2008. And so there was a big emphasis on startups, on entrepreneurs, on all these sorts of things. So this is kind of how I basically sort of learned all of that. And that was just a period when all of that was going on, you know. For me, it was around art and business. So pulling them two things together. So what did I do? We had a thing at Somerset House, and then I decided to do an art fair up in Manchester. And then it's when I was doing that art fair that I thought, this is what I really love, was actually talking all day to people about art and getting them excited about it, and then selling art. So that's when I came back from that, which was about October of whatever year it was, 2013, I think. I thought, yeah, I really want to get premises. I could do this all the time. This is what I love doing. So came back, put the feelers out, and moved into premises in Waterloo, November of that year. So it all happened really fast. It all kind of, you know, fell into place quite quickly from, you know, going to the fair up in Manchester and coming back and finding premises and moving in.
Wow, because that, I mean, it is fascinating, isn't it, about, you know, culturally our background. I know when I was at school, I was like you, I was just fascinated in sociology, people, anthropology and art history. And I was sent on to do a work experience in a library.
Oh, fabulous.
Can you imagine me in a library? I've never been quiet. I lasted about 3 minutes, I think, before I was like out. And then ended up in finance, very similar. But I think the thing that resonates so strongly with me is with your story is that thing about when crisis happens, like 2008, 2009. That's when I started Pure as well.
Oh, right.
And I think when you're in that, and that's what, you know, the lesson for now is, isn't it? Is these things seem like the end of the world when they happen, you know, that financial crash and everything was crashing around our ears at that point, a bit like now. But actually, it makes this moment, it opens this energy window that if you step into it, you can get into a really good flow. And there's so many opportunities.
Yeah.
I mean,
this is it. It depends what you want to listen into, isn't it, as well? You know, because there's a lot of doom and gloom if you read the national papers or, you know, even a lot of the news, but you have to see the opportunities within it and the potential within each of these sort of, you know, what is generally presented as a crisis. You know, so this year since lockdown has been amazing for me, you know. Yeah. And I think that that's been true for a lot of people, but that's because I also refuse to see, you know, the difficulties of working in lockdown. It's like, no, I'm available on Zoom, and that's how we're going to have this business, and that works. So,
yeah, it's having that positive mental attitude, isn't it? And knowing from experience, and we're lucky that we've had one or two experiences in our lifetimes, so where we've seen that the paradigm shift comes when there is an energy shift that makes it available. And I think that 2008, 2009 did it. And I think now is a similar kind of thing. I'm seeing so many innovations happening, people changing the way they do things, that is exciting, that they never would have done if this hadn't have happened. And I find that so inspiring and so exciting. So during lockdown, you've been forced to finish your book, haven't you? and launch your book?
No, actually, that's not quite the timeline on it. Can I take you through it?
Go on, take me through the timeline of the book.
So that book has been work in progress for actually years. So when I had the gallery, one of the things that used to happen is people would come in and, you know, or pitch me their work and things, and they were just doing a really not great job of it. So so I used to run these workshops called Getting Gallery Ready. So they would like be able to come in and we'd have like an hour's workshop or something, you know. I can't remember, they might have been free or maybe they were 5 or just on Eventbrite or something. But that's what it was. It was like a support workshop. So hang on, let me help you get in shape before you go pitching to galleries. And then I was doing that. I was working as a trustee for a visual arts charity, working with artists. Then I ran the Open Studios program, all these sorts of things. So a lot of what I was doing, I kind of wanted to document. And I thought, okay, it'd be really cool to have a book. And so bit by bit, I was actually writing this book over a number of years. And so I had a folder on my computer. And in many ways, as I think quite commonly happens when people start writing books, it's like a complete brain dump. And it's like, I've got to put everything I know into this book. Of course, like nobody wants to read that book anyway. But
you'd have to make that an audio book and read it to them yourself.
Instagram stories, you know.
Exactly.
You blow by blow account. No, so and then last year I was like really decided and really wanted to get that book published and get it done. And I actively spent a lot of time writing it or reviewing what I'd written and, you know, pulling it into chapters and things like that. And then I didn't get it done last year. So at the start of this year, so 2020, I actually hired a publishing coach. So she's a coach who helps you get your book published. And at this point, I also knew that I was going to self-publish because at the time I didn't have the book title, which is How to Build an Art Career Without a Gallery. But I thought the idea of having a writer chasing a publisher was like an artist chasing a gallery, that you thought you needed it, but actually you didn't. You've got the resources out there. So I knew I was going to self-publish, and that's when I hired the publishing coach. So we were on a 12-week program. That started in January. We kind of fine-tuned it. So I had a lot of the material, but was able to do maybe some audience research, a bit of keyword research, come up with the book title and test it, and then sort of sort out what the chapters were going to be. And so it had a actual flow to it, as opposed to this brain dump that I had in a folder. Sorry, can you hear somebody's got a leaf blower going outside?
Yeah, it's all right. It just adds to the atmosphere.
It does.
It's awesome.
So the book, so it was over this 12 weeks, we actually got that book written, consolidated, you know, put together in some sort of made sense. And in about February, I think it was February, March, it was with the editor. So, I mean, I then had to hire an editor and all sorts of things with it, right? Just self-publishing doesn't mean I'm literally doing everything. It's, I'm just still only writing and I'm overseeing the marketing, but I still hire people to do things, including editing. So all of that happened. So we had a launch for April, which just happened to, at that point, be in the depths of lockdown. So so my book was already in process for this year. And, you know, working with a coach was just kind of getting me accountable to getting that done and, making it happen. And so we launched in April. And again, I had to sort of put a positive spin on, like, what does this mean? Because the book is in 2 parts. And the second part of the book is showing yourself without a gallery. So we talk about hospitality spaces, art fairs, open studios, and so on. But of course, all of this was like suddenly being cancelled. You're getting all these emails going, "Oh, fair's not happening," and studios postponed or cancelled. So suddenly the second part of that book felt a bit redundant, but I refused to be wavered by, I suppose. It was like, no, that first part of the book, which is all about building your audience, getting on social, all of that is hugely relevant. And sure, that artists can go and read part 2 of the book, and they'll just have that knowledge for when doors open again and, you know, we are socially mobile again because, you know, we're allowed to be outside and, you know, go to events and things. So, I mean, this year has been things opened up and now they've closed down again. But I think anybody reading that would still find value for it if they were going to plan ahead for next summer even. So I tried not to be like, oh my God, I've written the wrong book by any means, and very much leaned in when I came to marketing and talking about it, for it being that first part of the book, like I said, which is around marketing and brand, that needed to be the message that people actually had time to implement, and also saw the power of their digital presence and their online presence and how impactful that could be to building a business.
Yeah, no, I got it on my Kindle.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm always fascinated, and so much what you write is, as you say, people say, how long did it take to create this course or write that? I've written a book as well. How long does it take to write this book? I say it takes a lifetime. It takes you your lifetime plus 3 months. Lifetime plus 3 months to write that book, and that's the thing. It's never going to be redundant, because that was your experience. It's really true. It has so much integrity. We are going to go back to some of those things afterwards, and even if some of them don't carry on, there's skills that you can transfer from those things. So yeah, there's never a moment when your experience isn't relevant to what. It's just that now you've got another book to write, which is how to sell your art yourself online with all the other things. So you can now do a chapter 3 on all the extra things that people can now do digitally online. It's great. When you do a rewrite, you can add a chapter 3 to your book.
I mean, in my group program, so I ran an artist group program in September and then ran it again in October. And we also did touch on things like virtual exhibitions and virtual studio tours and things like that as well. So I think that I am going to do something about that, but I'll probably just do it as an online course or something. I think writing a book takes a lot of time, and the tech around it is quite, changes so fast. Yeah. So that would be a funny thing. But I think the marketing, like even if you had virtual open studios or virtual exhibition, any of that, what you learn through the book about marketing is still 100% relevant.
Yeah, absolutely. When I read it, I was like, oh, this is completely transferable onto the online world. It's just you take out the word art fair and you put in virtual. And, it's all just completely transferable for anyone who's reading it, which I thought was, very good. What are the key messages, though, from the book? What's your key messages? What was the thing? I really need to get this through.
The artist is the best advocate of their work and needs to learn to become their own agent.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that, and I think, under that, which if I do another book, it's going to be more about this topic, which is about trust and faith and self-belief. And that's how you can become a better advocate of yourself.
Yeah, it's getting comfortable, isn't it? Talking about yourself, like we're doing.
Yeah.
Looking completely at yourself for like an hour on a screen. It's like, whoa. When I first did this back at the beginning of lockdown, I was like, I feel very uncomfortable with this. But now it doesn't bother me in the slightest. But it's just getting comfortable with your elevator pitch, getting comfortable with your story, getting comfortable with hearing your own voice back at yourself, hearing all of when I listen to myself back, because we've done some audio extractions of the talks so that they're podcasts as well. And so I listen to them and I think, gosh, I can hear all of the various accents from all the places I've lived in my life coming through. And it's like, oh dear. But I'm sure no one else hears that. Although I lived in South London for quite a big part of my life, and I can hear that little twang at the back. That is my South London twang. But yeah, you just got to get comfortable with it, haven't you?
Yeah.
And then get confident.
Yeah, I mean, I think it helps that, if you are working with a coach or something like that, is to actually start learning what it is that you want to share and what parts of your own story that you've perhaps not publicly shared before, or people don't know about you. And it's like, okay, is there a resistance there? Or is that actually, giving us more value into how we, interpret your work, for example? So I think there's like key things that you can always sort of bring out. But yeah, definitely, it's all about getting comfortable, because people are so interested in the artist, and I think the artist needs to, this is, the self-advocacy, self-education is all about that. People are interested in the artist as much as they are in the artwork.
Absolutely. The story, whenever I've been doing art fairs or exhibitions and, such like, people will come up and they'll say, oh, are you the artist? And I'll say, no, I'm the curator. And they kind of look at you kind of blankly because the general public don't really understand what that means. And I'll say, no, this is my artwork. And they say, oh, I get that now. The journey that you go on in this exhibition is my creative output. And each individual artist has their story. And I can tell you the stories if you would like to. And that's why it's been curated in this way. And they are transfixed about the story. And my book was called What's the Story? Because I was so interested in that. And so so resonates with me about the book. So I wrote one book and I was intending to write a second book. Never made it. Never managed it. What's the Story 2? Never happened. It's all still in digital form. Someone's got to transcribe it. I did all the interviews, but never got. I know it takes your life. It really is it really does take a lot of energy to write a book. So I have great respect for you.
Yeah, I don't know if I will do a second one. I mean, sometimes I think, oh yeah, there's another one coming through. But it's like, no, and I think that's like, yeah, I get to choose, right? I decide if that's happened, and I'll know when it really is right to, bring another book into the world or not. It's, we get all these choices, so let's remember that.
Conscious decision making is a thing. And then I wonder, what is it that, if we've got the choice, what is it that holds us back?
Sorry, I was reading something.
There's people writing.
Yeah.
If we have the choice, we have, because the choices are all ours. What is it that holds us back? What might be the reason why, we don't do that? Because often we can see all those clear things in front of us, but I know sometimes I've chosen not to do it, and I can hear the voices in my head, and I'm like, what is it? What is that voice doing? Why is that holding me back? What is it, the reason why I'm not moving forward with that?
But this is where it gets really interesting, isn't it? Like exploring what is in the gap, because is that an ego goal that you want? That thing, right? You want to have a book, or, in my case, I wanted to have a book and I knew it was going to be a bestseller. And I was 100% aware that was an ego goal. But I was also aware that I knew that the book I was going to write was going to impact lives. And I have a phone full of messages telling me exactly that. So, it's like I said, this book was in draft or work in progress for many years, but it came out into the world at the right time. Like maybe I wasn't the person to be able to follow through on the book, not just the book, but the impact of it 2 years ago when it was just a draft copy in various forms. So I think there's, what's in the gap is, it can be experience, it's settling into yourself, it's the confidence, it's all sorts of things. I mean, for other people, it can be, I mean, we all have it, but, elements of self-sabotage or the inner critic holding you back, and or even the fear, isn't it? Like what it could lead to. If you're really speaking your truth in that, if it's a book or a painting, it's like, oh my God, and you're fearing criticism, and so you avoid doing it as well for that reason. So, fear avoidance, so all the parts of the, all the shit in the gap, really.
It is that, isn't it? I know, myself, when I've looked at things, I'm like, what's holding me back from that? I've been reading this book. Have you read the Jay Shetty book, Think Like a Monk?
No, I haven't. Is it good?
Yes, I would definitely recommend it. I've been listening to it on audiobooks. And now I had a real thing about this guy, Jay Shetty, because he does a lot on social media. And I realized I'd got a bit of a mindset thing about him, because I kept seeing him on social media, and he kept sending, for some reason I'd managed to get on some sort of subscribe list where he kept sending me emails, which I found very annoying. And so I'd resisted reading this book for a while, because I was like, oh, I don't like what you're peddling. You're chucking loads of stuff at my inbox, which I'm not interested in, and I don't like it. And then I got I signed up for this Audible thing where you get, one book a month. So, and I'm trying to reduce my screen time.
Okay.
So I thought I'm going to download this book and listen to it. And I thought, see, it's that perception thing, isn't it? It's what's in the gap. I thought he think like a monk. He's just like adopting that whole thing about we're all into meditation and like soul searching and everything. No, he actually was a monk.
I mean, I think there's something, interesting about him, because he's also very young to be, I don't know, there's something about the people that talk about the spiritual world, like, so my reference point to people like Deepak Chopra, and so, like those people. So they are older and, which we associate with wisdom. And, he's a very young, very good looking guy, and he seems a bit too young to be talking about that sort of ascension and, these sorts of things. But then, when it kind of came out that he was also like I don't know what you call this, but a Facebook favorite, that Facebook were basically literally using him as a test to put on everybody's profile, like without him paying ads and stuff. There was that kind of thing going on. So we all saw his things, and it was like a test that they were doing around, I don't know, like, their reach, I suppose. There was something about that felt a little bit scammy. And it was like,
exactly. I felt like I was being scammed and spammed by Jay Shetty. And that actually made me not want to read his book. And that's a really interesting lesson, isn't it? As a marketeer, as someone who's massively into, our backgrounds are in marketing. I know when I first started my business, and I had a coach helping me set the business up, and he said, it's a marketing and PR business, Lesley. No, it's just in art, but it's a marketing and PR. Be honest, have integrity about that. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Just be honest about it. And I felt I was being spammed and scammed by this guy. And I didn't, and like you, Deepak Chopra, I've done the 21-day abundance. I love everything he does. And I am Team Deepak.
Yeah, right?
Oh, yeah. I am Team Deepak. So I was
spiritual laws, all of those,
exactly.
Like I have them on Audible as well. But I will sometimes just like, if you go into the shop and I'll just put on a random chapter and he'll walk into the shop, like going through.
I love that.
I'm there.
I go through my WhatsApp messages and pick up a day. I'm like, I'm on day 17 today. I'm going to listen to Deepak.
21 days, and the ones he did with Oprah, I really liked those. They were great, actually.
Yeah,
it's been. I'm not so actively, I don't know, doing any of their programs at the moment, but I have enjoyed in the past with the Mind Valley ones.
Yes, I like. What's he called? Joe
Dispenza.
Dispenza. Yeah, I like Joe Dispenza.
Yes.
And I listen to him a lot as well.
Same, actually. I know I was listening to him yesterday. He's another one. Like I've got 2 of his books, like Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and the other one. And again, like I can just listen to random chapters and still hear new things. Well, on his and Deepak's, actually.
Yeah, I listened to him about the whole thing about the bubble, about you walking around in your bubble, and I was like, I completely get that. And I love Joe Dispenza, I love Deepak Chopra, love Mind Valley, and so I was really resisting this. I don't want to say his name. Jay Shetty. Don't say his name because he's already had plenty of exposure.
We don't need to impact the SEO here.
Exactly, he doesn't need any more help. But I have started listening to it, and I'm getting a bit more respectful. Having listened to, I'm about a third in now, and I'm getting a bit more respectful because he actually genuinely was a monk for a couple of years, and he genuinely did that. And when the problem is, then he says he lives in LA and he's living, this, and I'm like, no, you're not helping yourself again, Jay. Stop it. You're not helping.
It's a funny thing, isn't it? Because why wouldn't you want to live in LA? That's the other thing. It's like I think even the Deepak Chopra stuff actually is somewhere out there in California as well. And, there's a whole TM branches and, retreats and everything out there. I mean, it's a very ripe audience for it, but it's like, when you associate it with the glamour of LA, then it's like, oh, but that doesn't quite vibe with the monastic thing you're selling me here.
It's not working, and that's so right. Yeah, I don't know whether have you done TM? Have you done TM training?
No, but I might imminently, because I went on there. Well, even there, sadly, having to do a lot of this by Zoom. So I was on a taster or intro-y thing, and then
with Marek,
do the 3 or 5 day thing.
Did you do it with Marek? Marek Lorries. So I think they probably have different people in different counties. So we have Marek here in Sussex. I'm actually booked on to do his training on the 14th of November to do TM training.
So is that how many? 3 days?
So I'm doing it was meant to be a weekend.
Yeah.
So the 3 days, yeah. But I don't know how it's going to work now. So I'm waiting to hear from him how that's going to work, because it was the 14th of November, which is right in the middle of lockdown. So I presume it'll just be online.
So I was speaking to the people at one of in London, there's about 3 centres. Right. So I was speaking to them at one of those. So yeah, it was just one of those things, because what is it? It's like £400 or £500, and it's okay. And it's not 3 full days, but just for anybody listening, but it's 3. You have to do like 3 consecutive days.
It's 90 minutes of training, isn't it, on 3 consecutive days?
Yeah. So it was a combo of those sorts of things. So I think I am going to do that in a minute. So it'd be really cool if you did it as well, and then we'll come out in November, like both like.
I know we've had.
We're like David Lynch, aren't we?
We can meet up and become competition for Jay Shetty. We're like, you might be a monk, but we are both TM trained. Back off. And we don't live in Peckham and Sussex. We don't live in LA. We are the real deal. I got a problem with
an interesting thing, because
jealousy.
Such a celebrity advocacy, and celebrity following. But the other thing I realized is, as I was kind of looking into it before I sort of had my meeting with them a few weeks ago, was that it's actually one of the few that's actually trademarked, as a meditation practice. Like yoga, there's so many different types. But it's TM is a thing, is like, and that's why you do this, like, what is it, pay £500, and there's a very particular way you learn it over 3 days, and then you've got
He just said when she did it on the sidebar, he just said when she did it in the 60s, it was 10 quid. No, it's not 10 quid now. I think they do. So for anyone who's watching, they do bands. So it's, if you earn up to this amount, you pay X. If you earn up to this amount, so I think it's done in the kind of tax bands, isn't it? So if you earn up to 12, if you don't earn anything, I think you can have a negotiation with them. Then if you earn up to £20,000, you pay one price. And if you earn 40, you would pay another. And then over 40,000, I think it's quite expensive.
I think the highest, unless you were going to go into more of a donation, I think the highest is about £500.
Oh, is it? Is that the highest level? I can't remember.
So if you're earning over, what did you say, 40 or 50,000?
Yeah, then
it's about £500, and then even below it is about, I don't know, 350.
I think it's 260 plus VAT or something like that. I can't remember now.
I don't know about the VAT bit. I didn't really pay attention, but it was
you weren't paying attention, were you? I'm always paying attention to VAT.
Well, it's one of those things. It's like, okay, it's like you do an online course and you think, okay, well, have I got time to implement it now and do it, or shall I wait for it to come around again? I mean, I know with TM, you can obviously go and do the program anytime. So I think that's what I was looking at, just.
Yeah.
Me too. But that would be really cool if we ended up doing it at the same time.
Yeah, no, I think that's
we should. Yeah, I mean, what drew you to TM?
So I've been into Reiki and meditation. You just reverse the roles. I'm meant to be the interviewer. How did that happen?
Segue, beautiful.
So I've been doing Reiki, and I found it really, really good. And then I got introduced to meditation, and I found it really helpful in just managing myself and my own energy. And because obviously, like you, I'm very busy, and I've got And when you're coaching, it's not like therapy. You don't take people's problems on and wear them like a coat, but it is still quite energy sapping. Because I do it like you, I put my entire self into it. I listen really carefully, and I really, do it with my full self. And so I found meditation is a really good thing to get me ready for that. And I found meditation when I started doing the talks really good to get me into the mindset when I was trying to, get over all my fears of coming online. Meditation for, 20 minutes before I was doing it really helped me. So then I saw that thing online for, a taster for TM. So I was like, oh, I'm going to have a look at that. And then I did the taster, and then I got him to come and do a talk for all the members. So I listened to it again. And I was like, do you know what? Actually, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And Deepak as well, having done the 21-day abundance. So yeah, all of those things.
He talks about it a lot, doesn't he? Yeah. I mean, yeah, the way in terms of looking at it from a marketing lens, it does seem very powerful, as if it is presented as like probably the most powerful sort of and easiest type of meditation, and I think the way like David Lynch talks about it as well, it's really, I'm into it.
Me too.
And I like that what you said was like quite important about when we're coaching as coaches, we hold a lot of space, and I feel like one of the things that I'm very aware of is that I have to be very present with my clients, whether it's, well, obviously it's all virtual these days, and that's even more reason because they can't read so much, I don't know, body language and things. So yeah, it is, takes a lot of energy. So do you also like cleanse or anything before?
Yeah.
Selenite, right?
do all of that stuff, because I just think it just gets me in the right space, and this takes a lot of energy. To do it properly. You're getting into rapport with someone. You have, what energy we're putting out on the screen, people are picking up. I want them to really, this hour has been a valuable investment by them, that they've, spent time with us. And so, yeah, all of these things are really, really important. And especially now we're going into this, second lockdown. We have a responsibility. I know we're not the savior, as we said, we're not there to save. I'm not there to save the world, but I do have a responsibility to do what I do ethically and in the best way I possibly can. And I take that seriously.
Yeah.
I take that responsibility seriously, is that, we're doing the best we can. I don't want anyone to go away feeling harmed or low energy when they've been with us. So yeah, it's really important.
Or that they've not had how can I put this, that it's not just an add-on, what we do. I mean, like coaching, we're doing it, like both of us, what we were saying in the green room, like supporting artists through the different ways is what we're doing anyway. Like whether it was curating or we've both run galleries and all of that, it was about supporting the artist, but through the coaching as well, it's very much sort of being there to for that support. That they
I don't want it to feel like an add-on. I want it to feel like, and it is for me, and I know it is for you, that I genuinely care.
Yeah.
I genuinely care about these people. And I think that the artists often, the reason I came into it is because I felt that the artists, in business, when you're working in a company, you've got all that infrastructure, haven't you, around you? And if you've got a problem, there'll be something there that you can access. But artists didn't have that. They work alone. And so, to hold that space and be that kind of corporate structure in a non-corporate way, because they never want the corporate, they want it in a different way. Yeah, it's, what we do is like provide the resources, really. But
this is where we have to be. I mean, I think as, coaches and the sorts of businesses we're running, and many people, we have to be both our own, I don't know, HR department and head of marketing and head of development and head of IT and all of it. It's like, whoa, it's a lot of hats,
It is. It's a lot of hats that we and the artists have to wear. And so I think that's where the empathy comes, because we're doing that kind of solo business, that what do they call it now, the trendy word, portfolio business. And that's what they're doing. That's what artists are doing, essentially. So yeah, you're helping them guide and support and care. We care. I care. I genuinely care.
100%.
And that's, you know, that's why I spend 3 months writing a course, not 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I genuinely care. And that's why you spent your life plus 3 months writing that book, because you genuinely care. And you don't want to put something out there that, you know, someone could Google on the internet. That, you know, this is from a lived, that's what we say, it's from a lived experience.
Yes.
Yeah, we live it and we know it. So I'm really surprised that we haven't got any questions from the audience, and they're normally really on this question thing. We must have given them so much good value to do.
So much. I was thinking about it, but just resolved every. You know,
I genuinely am surprised that none of you have got any questions. You've normally filled this question box with, you know, so I'm hoping that we've done a really good job today, because there's loads of people watching. Julia has said another person to have a look at is Craig Hamilton, and I don't know Craig myself.
No,
but yeah, she's saying to have a look at Craig as well. So yeah, we'll have a look at that. So thank you so much for sharing this space with me. Your book, just bring it to the screen, I think, because it's been sat on that radiator getting warm.
It's like, where could I put it there?
Yeah,
look, some kind of a ledge here.
You need a ledge.
Yeah.
You need a floating shelf.
So here we go. It's called Show Your Art, How to Build an Art Career Without a Gallery. It's available on Amazon as an ebook, which is, I think, £5, and as the paperback for £12. In the paperback, there are areas where you can write in it. It's got areas for your notes. Brilliant. It's got some checklists that you can actually use and tick off.
Love a checklist.
So it's so the book, you know, if you get the print copy, then there's areas that you can actually write in it as well, and things like, so, you know, for example, if we're looking at like your website, then you can sort of tick in, make your notes on like, okay, what are the areas that you need to improve on your website that, you know, that we reference in the book, for example. So there's all sorts of things. There is social media prompts, actually, you know, prompts for your written content. So whether you're going to do blogs or social posts or anything, because this was like a classic sticking point for a lot of artists I was working with. And again, it goes back to what we were saying earlier about communicating their message and aspects of their story. So it's done in a very sort of gentle way to guide you sort of through that. So yeah, that is available on Amazon. If you hate Amazon, of course, you can head over to the Curators Salon and you can buy it there as well. And then I will ship it out to you.
Yeah, go to the Curators Salon. What we need to do, we need to make sure that in this lockdown, we don't fall into the trap of going to Amazon and buying all our Christmas presents online. We need to wait and either go to all the little shops in our local community and buy click and collect, because I know a lot of them are doing that, or on their websites. And yeah, buy Gita's book directly from her, because you'll get all the money then, and you won't have to give.
Oh, this is true as well. Yeah.
I think he called Bezos. I don't know what his name is.
Who's that? Huh?
Was he Jeff Bezos?
Oh, Jeff Bezos, yes.
Yeah, who runs Amazon. He doesn't need any more money. He's got enough money for 55 lifetimes now. Don't do it. Go to Gita directly. Because as you say, I mean, I got it as a Kindle version, just because obviously I wanted to read it and I was fascinated with your story. But you don't get all the checklists and all the pages and all the extra added value on that. It's definitely worth getting the print copy so you can like go through the checklists.
Yeah, and I think people, I mean, I do like a physical book as well. I mean, I published the ebook back in April and then it came out in paperback in August. So there was a time lag, but my publishing it as an ebook was part of just like getting that out there. And, you know, that was part of the journey. But I think, you know, a lot of people then, you get to save some trees as well. So.
Yeah, my librarian in me, the 2 minutes I did. Says, buy a book, go and have a book. The old librarian. So we have got a question, actually. Ooh. So let's see this question. I would like to ask you about fashions in art and how it may influence your own taste or the other way round. Oh, that's from Julia. Fashion trends in art. So I know when we went into 2008, 2009, there was a massive surge then for quite a few years into photorealism in art, wasn't there? And then we kind of segued out of that and we went more into abstract because people were feeling more relaxed and comfortable. And now I have seen a little bit of a resurging into this photorealism taste again. What are your feelings on that?
I think it's wherever our attention is going. Like for me, I think about 4 or 5 years ago, I think street art was really peaking, or anything that was street art referenced, even if it was within a gallery context. So that was like, or at least I was seeing a lot of that around the sort of my peers that were art dealers or just around. That seemed to be a really strong thing. And that might also, I don't know, but possibly have been a London thing or an urban thing as well. So if you're in, less urban spaces, that you might not have been exposed to it. So I think I don't know when we say what are the trends coming through, because like which level of the market are we looking at? If it's like I don't know, even the national media, they're only going to cover whoever's buying their ads in the end, or whoever's got a newsworthy story. So that can really kind of affect the broader perception. What I'm looking at right now is a lot of collage.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I'm seeing a lot of collage.
And I am really liking it. I feel, collage obviously has been around for a very long time, right? I mean, it really is the original mixed media, isn't it? But, the resurgence of things like the Picasso exhibition earlier this year, Picasso on Paper, that kind of brought that back in. People like the Jealous Curator, she also loves collage. So what she shares is very collage based. But that is kind of a lot of what I'm seeing in mixed media with like cyanotypes and gold leaf and those sorts of blends. I think
experimental, I think, is what I'm seeing. A lot of it pushing the boundaries and experimental.
And the other thing I'm sort of enjoying is, and again, it's a little bit collagey, but it's actually fine artists who are oil paint or painters. But it's like social media as reference points in their artwork. Have you seen those? Like people like Sean Huckins and Lawrence Gavalny, where they've made a painting, but it looks like I don't know, like an old master, but then with a text over it, or
I've seen someone doing kind of old master styles, but it's referencing Zoom.
Yeah, that sort of thing. So I'm seeing a lot of that's referencing social and contemporary
culture.
Yeah,
which is what you would hope artists would do, is respond to, that's their job, isn't it? Is to respond to culturally to what we're experiencing right now. So I'd be fascinated to see what we get after this next.
But that is, I'm really enjoying seeing, artist interpretations of those sorts of themes, I think, right now. So
yeah, I went into a gallery last week and I saw, as you say, that that Zoom reference and the masks, people using masks as reference points as well in their
very
painting.
much all those on all the old sculptures, or you've seen the ones with the Mona Lisa wearing the mask. And I was at the Royal Academy, I don't know, last month before, and they put a mask on the Joshua Reynolds sculpture, that's in their courtyard.
Yeah.
So
very much good man. Good man. We've all got to wear the masks so that we can all have a good Christmas.
Yeah.
Well, you and I are going to go off now and do TM training.
Yeah.
And I will drop you a line when I've done it, and then we can have another chat. That'd be cool.
Be really good. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. And thank you. We'll be so zen. And I am thinking of launching the 21-day. So I did it for a group of artists at the beginning of lockdown. I'm thinking of doing that again, the 21-day challenge. So if you're on my WhatsApp list, you might get an invite. Watch out.
Okay, cool.
And next week I'm interviewing Sue Jelly, who was the president of the Society of Women Artists. So she's now the first women president of the Painters and Stainers. So she's going to be fascinating. And she's a very lively live wire. So get coffee before you sit down, or maybe even a gin and tonic. Be ready. She's a lively character. So I'm looking forward to that. But thank you so much, Gita.
You are very welcome.
I kept my brace on the entire time this time, because last week I took it off for a rest and I stupidly tried to cross my fingers. And when you've got a fractured wrist and damaged ligaments, that was a really bad idea. So being careful this week. But thank you so much. Head over to Curators Salon to sign up for Gita's newsletter, and if you're interested in coaching, she does coaching, as you heard, and the book, buy directly from her, and I'm sure you're going to see lots more of Gita, because I have
also, can I mention, I have a podcast as well called
you have the podcast. Yeah, the podcast. Now that's on your website, isn't it? But
the podcast is on the website, but you can find it any place you get your podcast: iTunes, Amazon,
Spotify. Let's use everybody, include everyone. Ours are on Spotify, and so you can get that. But presumably, you tell people on your social media when you're doing the podcast, do you?
The social media I use is where you can find everything about me, to be honest. But and then similarly the website, that's got everything as well. So
now, Gita thought we wouldn't go for an hour.
I know, we did it, man. We did it.
We did it. It's been brilliant. Thank you so much. And you all now need to go back to work, because that's your lunch hour done. And we'll see you again this same time, same place next week. Thanks, Gita, so much. Thanks, brilliant. Thank you. And thanks everyone for joining us. See you next week.